And we are back with another episode of From the Rafters. Sam and I are here recording on a Saturday. I don't know why I always do that in the intro, Sam. I'm just gonna go on a tangent here. I don't know why I always say the day. I think it's because I forget what I'm about to say, and I use that as a
I think you
buffer.
should say the day. You should say, "Oh, it's Saturday,
Yeah,
March 13th."
yeah. Is it
That
the
way, if someone's
13th?
listening to it,
It
yeah.
is the 13th. Wow. Yeah, Saturday, March 13th, 2021. If you're listening years into the future, there's your reference. But Celtics just lost their first game back from the All-Star break. It was a tough game to the Nets, who were without KD but still had Kyrie Irving and James Harden. So they're no slouch of a team. What do you take away from that loss, Sam? Is it, I don't see it as a, must-win game, but it's definitely one I think I know I wanted the Celtics to win. I think everybody did just to get back into a rhythm. Does it worry you? Are you fine with it? I mean, they fought hard. What do you take away?
What it does for me is it makes me think that, oh, maybe they're not good enough, or things like that. Like maybe they do need to make a move because they played decent. I mean, did they or did they not? Because then you really think about it, Jalen Brown and Kemba had really off games, but Brooklyn didn't have KD, but they did have Landry Shamet, who had no business shooting the way he did. So I say that is a fair trade-off.
I wouldn't say fair trade-off.
I would. I mean, that was
uh,
unbelievable.
yeah, he had a solid game. It was definitely tough because, like you said, Jalen Brown and Kemba, I would say mainly Jalen Brown, though, had a really rough night. I don't know the exact stats. I can go find it momentarily, but I don't think it's fair to jump on Jalen Brown right away. He hasn't had too many, dud
Oh, I'm
games.
not
But,
jumping on him. It's
well,
just
yeah, no, I know. But what do you
he
think
was the one that
was
didn't play well.
was it just an off night? Like, what do you think was going on? Is it as simple as that?
Maybe he's tired. I see a lot of people saying he's tired because he's playing a lot of minutes. All-Star weekend, he didn't really get any time off.
Mhm.
Maybe it's
And
that.
fun fact, Jalen Brown played the most minutes of anybody on the Celtics against the Nets by far. He played 40 minutes against the Nets, which is five more than Tatum, six more than Kemba, and he shot 5 of 23 from the field that night and
Not great.
3 of 12 from three. Not great in any sense. He took the most shots on the team. He took the most threes on the team. He was playing good defense. He had 4 steals, and he was bringing other things to the playing field too. He had 6 assists, which is the most on the team. So it's not like he was completely ineffective. But if Jalen Brown has a good shooting night against the Nets, that's a completely different ball game because the final score was 121-109 Nets. But realistically, that's just because the end of the game things got away. Like I don't think that fully reflects how close this game actually was.
Well,
Uh,
Brooklyn finished the game on a 12-2 run or something like that. Like it
yeah,
was 108, 106, and then the Celtics kind of what happened? Was that the Tatum turnover or was that before it was
I
10
think
or
it might.
after that?
I think it might have been the Tatum
That
turnover.
was stupid. That pissed me off.
But other than that turnover, though, I was going to say Tatum had a pretty solid night. It was a very
He had a
efficient
great night.
night.
He was the best
Yeah.
guy on the team.
He
He,
shot
he was
13 of
efficient. You're
22.
absolutely
Yep.
right. I was so pumped to see him have an efficient night. That's the guy that they need him to be, and he needs to
Mhm.
be consistent like that. I believe before the break he was playing pretty well too. He
Yeah.
had was it
The
against
Wizards game. The Wizards game. He was really good.
what about the Clippers game? There was one of the games where he had a good overall game and not just like closing. Because in that Wizards game, he wasn't great the whole game, but he closed well.
Yeah, I think it was that Clippers game where he played really well. I double check now. No, he had 14. It must have been the Raptors game. Let me just look because I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, he had 27, 12, and 5 on super efficient shooting from
Yeah, there
everywhere.
you go.
That
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 that's
that
it.
was the great game.
There was one game I was like, damn, he's playing really well.
Mhm.
That was the one.
And this Nets game, he had another one of those good games. It was just that turnover at the end, one stupid mistake that ended up, I wouldn't say costing the Celtics the game, but it definitely hurt them
Made
in the
impact.
end. Would you agree with the sentiment that if the Celtics are going to be title contenders with this roster, not as currently constructed, but with this like core players currently constructed, Jason Tatum has to be a superstar and he has to play at this level every night?
Yeah, he needs to play really well, and needs his teammates to play well too, for them to have success. And early on, when they were playing out of their mind, 8-3, him and Brown were really going off.
Hmm.
I was like, damn, they could really compete with this roster. And as of right now, it's not going the same. It's not. Nobody's clicking all at once. You know what I'm saying? One guy will have a good night, and the other two will not play well.
Hmm. And when they do all click, they win games. And so that's going to be the key to win games. When Kemba's on, they win games. And even if one of the other two are off. And it's weird that usually if the Celtics lose a game, it's because one of the Jays is off. It's like, because you'd think usually if the Jays are on, or if one of the Jays is on and Kemba's on, then they'll win, right? But it's usually either if one of the Jays is off, they lose, but like it's just such a weird formula because there's no like exact pattern as to why they're losing games. Because usually when you have a team as talented as this, right? And I do think the Celtics team is extremely talented. Tatum and Brown are both top 30 players in the league, in my opinion. Kemba's playing at an all-star level as of late. So usually when you have a team as good as this, there's a pattern like, okay, this is why they're losing. And for a while it was the ball movement. But even in games, it seems like where they're passing well, they still like seem to crumble. And I don't understand why they're losing games at times. Do you know what I'm saying?
They're just not great down the stretch. And I think Brooklyn really is. They're what was it, 18-1 now when they enter the fourth with a lead?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, they don't lose games down the stretch. That's one thing that comes with having three closers like they do. Like you have three different guys that can close the game for you. The Celtics have, I don't really know. Maybe
Depends.
Tatum sometimes. Usually I don't really like him closing games. Brown usually doesn't get the opportunity to do it, and Kemba used to be able to do it, but he hasn't really gotten the chance this year. So,
yeah.
I mean, who knows? This is just the regular season. You got to get ready for the playoffs. I guess the goal should be make sure you can iron out whatever the kinks are before the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
It's not championship or bust. It's make a good run or bust. Obviously, I think you don't want to lose in the first round. That's the goal, and put up at least a good fight in the second round. I feel like Eastern Conference Finals could potentially be a thing depending on the seeding, because I mean you want to probably avoid Milwaukee and Brooklyn. Make them play each other, right?
Yeah.
Philadelphia. I mean, Philadelphia is Philadelphia.
They scare me too. They scare me too, though, this year. No?
They do, but they don't. I don't know. Philly's gonna Philly, man.
I don't know. Embiid's a monster this year. Embiid did just get hurt last night at the time we're recording this, though. But it came back as just a bone bruise, so he will be okay. I mean, I know you like Embiid. I like Embiid.
I like Embiid.
He's been ridiculous this season. I don't know if you saw this stat, but Embiid is currently averaging 30 points, shooting 50% from the field and shooting 40% from three. The only other person in NBA history to do that was Steph Curry in his unanimous MVP season. And Embiid's a 7'1" setter. That's like unheard of shit right there. That's ridiculous.
Pretty crazy.
Absolutely
He's been unreal.
Insane.
And he's a force inside too, which is a problem, especially for the Celtics. Thompson has shown he can't really handle that.
He cooks the Celtics. He cooks the Celtics every time he plays us. And whether or not it's, the fouls, which I know is a big issue in one game, he knows how to get those fouls, which is just as impressive. He's basically James Harden in a 7'1" body at this point, which is kind of insane when you think about it. It's ridiculous. He's my front runner for MVP. I don't know your thoughts on that, but if you had to pick an MVP right now, who would it be? We'll ask you that real quick.
I mean, he's the best player on the best team in the conference. I think he's probably he deserves it. He's playing really well. People say Jokic, but the Nuggets aren't really playing well enough, I think, for him to be MVP.
They've picked it up lately. I know for a while they were like below 500, or not below 500, but sitting around it. And I know now they're 22-15, so it's not like they're terrible anymore. So I guess that's an argument. I know Steph Curry is one that a lot of people pegged at the start of the season, but the Warriors are kind of average, so I don't know about that. Damian Lillard's another huge one I've seen a lot of people say too. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Guys playing with a skeleton crew because everybody's hurt.
Yeah, and they're 21-15, so he's leading the skeleton crew to wins,
he's a good player, man.
You gotta respect.
Such a good player.
He's probably.
I hope he gets to win something there. Or at least compete. I mean, what are they? They've been to the conference finals a couple times, or at least once.
Once, yeah. Let me ask you this: if the Celtics weren't your favorite team, and you could just pick a favorite team, like you had to go out and pick one, who would you choose?
Yeah. Oh, I have an answer for this. I just can't tell you off the top of my head. I was actually thinking about this. Like, I don't know when I was thinking about this. A team I always root for. I'm so sorry. I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Want me to read you every team in the league and you can?
No. I just need to think about it for a second.
I got you. Well, you can think and I'll give you my answer. I thought of it because mine's the Blazers. Just Damian Lillard, I think, is my favorite player to watch in the NBA outside of the Celtics. He's just so entertaining. Like I have a very short list of players I like to watch. Most of them are superstars, and then there's a couple like just randoms that I just enjoy watching. Like Damian Lillard's up there. I love watching him. Joel Embiid obviously is up there. Weirdly enough, I really like watching Domantas Sabonis. I don't know why. I just think the way he like commands the post is really entertaining. Those are probably some of the like top three I've got. I'm looking at like all the teams in the league right now, and that's basically just my answers.
I'd say I like Golden State. I
Yeah.
like I think they have good fans, so I think they're a good team.
Is
To
that the
support.
answer that you had in your head?
Well, I have a couple.
Okay.
That was I think Portland actually was the one. I just wasn't like thinking about it. I think Portland has good fans
Yeah.
too. They're in the Northwest, Celtics are in Northeast, so similar weather. Not that that really matters for a basketball team, but I don't know. I think they've had good teams over the years. It's just interesting that they've never just been able to get to the finals. Really, it's unfortunate for them. And then I kind of like the Pacers too. I think, well, not the franchise itself per se, but I like a lot of the guys on their team. Like I like Brogdon a lot. I'm excited to see Karis LeVert play for them today.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see. I don't know if they were in the East, I'd for sure be rooting for them more.
I really like the Pacers too. Their jerseys are really underrated too, in my opinion. I love their jerseys. They're sick.
Yeah,
But yeah. Anyways, bringing it back to the Celtics, one on a tangent there. Marcus Smart made his return against the Nets, and I think had probably the most impactful performance of the night. Jason Tatum probably had the
he's
best,
the
but in
man.
terms of impact, I'd give it to Marcus Smart. What do you think about his first game back?
So one thought I had to myself while I was watching the game was we always have this discussion, whether it's here, pregame, wherever, which you can watch on Guy Boston Sports Twitter and YouTube. Um,
YouTube.
YouTube is going to be the main stream coming up because Twitter is being stupid and getting rid of their live stream, which I don't understand. Presented by Manscaped. Use
Hell yeah.
BTUSA as your 20% off code. We need to start making sure we say that in the podcast.
20% off and free shipping, Sam. And free shipping, which is
And
kind
free
of elite.
shipping? Well, that's actually kind of fire.
It's elite.
That's why mine got here so fast. Because when you did that, I got it like 2 days later, and I was like, "Damn, did he pay like extra for shipping?"
Nah, free shipping. Code BTUSA is OP. Use that at checkout. 20% off and
They'll
free
send
shipping.
you boxer briefs, or like a trimmer,
Mhm.
and some ball deodorant.
And a t-shirt. T-shirt too, which is kind of
I
hype.
didn't get a fucking t-shirt.
You didn't get a fucking t-shirt? That's kind of lame. Mine came with the t-shirt. They just like me better. But yeah, BTUSA at checkout for 20% off and free shipping.
Back to it. I think
to it.
Marcus could be that potential fourth scoring option. I mean, in all reality, right? He's been pretty efficient this year. He takes decent shots. He's a good facilitator with the ball, and he plays good defense. He's really stepping into that. I think he could be a good fourth option for you, and I don't think it's out of need or lack of a better, a better option, I guess. But I think he's been really good, man. And recency bias has me, but I love Marcus, and he was excellent against Brooklyn. He shot efficiently. What was it, 3 or 4 from 3? Unless he kept shooting
4 of 6. 4 of 6 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3, 8 of 9 from the line for 19 points. He scored 19 points on 6 shots.
What a beast. Huge. That means he's getting inside, and he's moving without the ball. I saw clips and clips and clips on Twitter of him, being a leader on the floor. Dude, nobody moves without the ball. And that's a big issue for this team. I don't know if it's because they're just kind of told to stand there like a 2K offense or what. But, I mean, dude, if people are moving off the ball, it would make it more acceptable for isolation play. Because then you have stuff going on off the ball, which is fine.
It's distraction at least.
Standing around.
I agree.
It gives you better chances to score.
100%. And one of the biggest complaints about Smart in years past has been the fact, he takes too many shots. Man scored 19 points on 6 shots, right? There's no reason to complain about that.
Without free throws, that's literally impossible.
And he was great on defense too. I mean, I wouldn't say he locked up Kyrie, but he definitely did a good job on James Harden at the very least. Kyrie Irving was in another universe that day.
He really had Harden going, huh?
Ridiculous.
My favorite play of the
Mhm.
game was when Smart jumped into Harden on the three, and Harden
Mhm.
was like bullshit. And
Yeah.
like that's literally what Harden does. Like that's
Oh
your
yeah.
whole offensive like style of play, buddy. Like what are you
Mhm.
complaining about? By the
Yeah.
way, I'm gonna keep campaigning for it. They need to get rid of that. That needs to go. I don't care if you make an offensive foul or what, but if you're taking a shot that's not a natural motion like that, it should not be a foul.
Yeah.
I would prefer that they don't make it a foul because if they don't, then guys are really going to shy away from doing it because it's going to hurt their stats.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't think guys will care if they get an offensive foul, but if their percentages go down, I think they're not going to like that.
Mhm.
Hot take.
Harden has been playing elite since getting to Brooklyn this season, regardless of the shots. He's not
I
averaging as
forgot.
many
I
points.
forgot how much I can't stand him
It's
before
because
I was
he's so
watching the
good.
game.
And the main
It's not
thing
even
with
that. It's just
Harden,
he's a prick. Like he complains.
Mhm.
He I just don't like the way he plays. And I don't like the way he shot his way out of Houston. But I really hate the way that he relies on free throws. Every time he shoots a three, he falls down.
Yeah.
Like that should not be a thing.
He's doing less of that in Brooklyn, I will say, ever since getting there, and he's relying a lot more on his playmaking, and he's leading the league in assists right now. Like he's a great playmaker, and I think that's underrated. But I completely understand where you're coming from. I haven't seen it as much from him in Brooklyn, which I guess is a good thing because I think he is a really good player outside of that, obviously. So if he's shied away from that, I think he'd get more respect around the league in general. But yeah, Smart did a really good job defending Harden, but it was Harden's teammate and former Celtic Kyrie Irving that ended up absolutely killing Boston in that game. He had 40 points. He just wouldn't miss. He was getting to the line, he was getting inside, he was doing whatever he wanted. And it was
He wasn't missing from any
pretty
jump shots. It was
pretty
crazy. He
frustrating.
wasn't even hitting the rim.
Yeah.
I honestly can't even tell you like a time he played like that when he was playing for the Celtics. No, I'm serious.
No,
Like there
yeah, yeah.
really aren't times that I could think of where like I was like, wow, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
And that
I've
Nets
seen
game was.
I've
That
seen
was
Isaiah
incredible.
do that. I've seen days where Tatum's done that. Brown did that a lot this year where he wasn't missing. I cannot tell you a time where I was like, damn, Kyrie really isn't missing. You
And
know,
it's
like
not like he
he's
wasn't great in Boston. He played great. It just wasn't like, that electricity that it like just like you watch and like this guy's incredible. This guy's a superstar. You know what I'm saying?
what I want to talk about with Kyrie is what he said after the game. Did you hear about this,
I
Jack?
did. Yeah, it was in
What a
his post
fucking
game.
prick. I hate that guy.
Oh,
Oh, I
really?
hate that guy. Fucking he says somebody asked him about hugging, the Celtics, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like isn't that funny how like all the shit people talk about me?" Like, yeah. I don't know why they hug him.
Well,
I don't get it. I hate
I
that.
don't
I hate
think
that they hug
I
him.
I feel like the fans hate Kyrie way more than his teammates do. Because I feel
Well,
like
yeah, we didn't get to see what happened, but he
yeah.
1000% quit on them, and he was not getting along with somebody there.
Yeah.
I think it
So
was Jalen Brown and Rozier.
maybe, yeah.
I don't know.
I have the
I
quote.
wish they wouldn't hug him. I
Yeah.
don't like that. I
The
just don't like. I don't like that they do it with like everybody, not just him. I don't like that there's a brotherhood around the league. You're not supposed to like the guys you're playing against.
well, I
I'm
mean,
serious.
yeah, but it's
I
like
get that you have friends like
yeah.
Tatum, Bradley Beal, like that's different, but you don't have to hug everybody.
Yeah, the way I see it is like obviously they're competitive, but you also have to separate like you all like this is a very unique and I don't want to call it a club, but like the NBA, like you guys are all in the
Yeah,
NBA.
I
That's not
get
a lot
it.
of people, so you're gonna be close with the people
It's one
you're
of the
competing
reasons I like
against.
Embiid so much, Jack, because he's real. Like
Yeah,
he is a competitor like that. There's not a lot of guys left like that that'll be like go screw.
yeah,
It
100%. So
doesn't happen.
the
And they should
quote
be
from
telling him to
Kyrie,
go screw. I went back and watched it. I don't know why, what compelled me to do it. I watched some of the highlights from those Milwaukee games. He quit on the friggin' team. Like
Mhm.
how can you have somebody so clearly quit on your team in a playoff series that they should have won? And I'll take it to my grave. They should have been able to win that series if they played well. And he leaves. He quit on the team halfway through the season.
Mhm.
I don't know how they're all okay with that.
So I got the quote for you. He was asked after Thursday night about
I
embracing his
said it
former
verbatim.
teammates. It
Go ahead.
was big surprise, huh, to a lot of
Yeah.
people. All that shit talking about me and all the relationships I have with every teammate of mine. I'm glad we get to see it every single game that I've got some great people out here. So
What an
there you go.
asshole.
It's just it's frustrating me because like in all reality, like maybe I have a different viewpoint. I bet Kyrie Irving's a really nice dude. Like in person, I bet if I went up to him
Psychopath.
and I had a conversation with him, he would be a really
Crazy.
nice guy, right? Like if I walk up to Kyrie Irving on the street, hey, what's up, Kyrie? I'm a Celtics fan. I liked you when you're in Boston. I'm not gonna be an asshole to the guy, right? And he'll probably be like, oh, thanks,
Like,
man.
go up,
Like,
hey, Kyrie, I'm a
yeah,
Celtics
okay.
fan. Go fuck yourself.
I know what you do, but like he's probably a nice dude. It's just frustrating to see, like what you said, he very clearly wasn't playing his hardest in that Milwaukee series. To see him do something in Brooklyn this good, and maybe it's just he didn't want to be in Boston anymore, which is fine. But like you
And
say,
then
like you paid to play here, and
you
you're just
love
gonna
those
like
guys
quit
so
him.
much. Why'd you leave them?
Yeah,
Why'd you leave?
it's tough. I know.
Why were you such an issue when you were here before you left?
Hmm.
Because I can't say that I would want him to stay because he was such a problem.
Hmm.
He was always creating trouble, controversy. He hates the media, which is fine. I mean, you're entitled to not like the media, but I mean, the media is telling what everyone's seeing, that you're being a prick. So
Hmm.
why is he able to be a prick and be forgiven? I don't like that.
I don't know, man. It's just I wish some player on the Celtics from that year, maybe when it's all said and done, will come out and say what exactly happened, right? Because obviously we
Yeah,
don't know the full
I would love
story,
that.
but I want to know what happened, right? It couldn't have been all Kyrie, in fairness. Like there were probably other problems
Oh,
going
there
on.
were definitely other problems, but like he was the only one showing it.
Yeah, 100%. Everyone else was at least professional enough with the media. I feel like that plays into it too because he doesn't like the media. He was just like, "Fuck this, I don't give a shit." You know what I'm saying? And everyone else was trying to be more professional. It just it left a clear sour taste in the mouth of Boston fans, and I don't think that's unfair to say. Like I feel like it's fair enough that they don't like him. I mean, he left a bad taste in their mouth. He left the city, and the big
He
part of it is
quit. He
you
quit on the
say
team.
you say at the start of the season that you're gonna stay. They run into problems during the season, it's not working, and then you quit. That's I think if he had said nothing at the start of the season, I don't think it would have been as bad as it was. Right? Would you agree? As bad.
Yeah,
Not
probably not. It'd still be pretty bad though, the way he quit. Like
yeah.
that's the main issue that I remember. And I remember when it happened, like when he was like playing so bad in those games, like I was like, he can't leave after that, can he? Like he can't like that can't be the last thing he does. Like that's like really bad on his legacy.
And then opening night of free agency, gone.
Well,
Just
I mean,
gone.
you knew after a while you kind of knew he was going to leave, but
Yeah.
like before free agency you kind of knew. But I remember just at the time thinking I was like, can he really leave after that? Is that something like that's we were having a conversation on locker room within heckling distance when we had all the people on and I was talking about like free agency, like teaming up as a weak move. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
Do
And
you
it's
agree
not
with
like
that?
yeah, I think I have a slightly different viewpoint on it than you do. Because in my opinion, like for example, LeBron going to Miami, I don't have as much as a problem with as Kyrie going to Brooklyn with KD. Because the difference is LeBron left a team that Cavs team, they weren't doing shit. Like let's be real here. He like maybe you have a different opinion. That
That
Cavs
Cavs
team,
team won 66 games, Jack. You know that,
yeah,
right? Like
because of
they won
LeBron.
66 games.
Because of
Shaq was
LeBron.
old, but they had Shaq. They had Anton Jameson, Mo
Yes, but like
Williams.
the
They're not
difference
like amazing players. Don't get me
my
wrong.
my point is the year after Kyrie leaves Boston, right? How many games they win? They're in the playoffs again.
They
They're
make the Eastern
successful.
Conference Finals.
LeBron leaves
Yeah,
that Cavs team. How
yeah,
good?
you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
There
That's
is a
like my viewpoint.
difference.
So,
There's a
but
difference, but I
but
say they're
Kyrie
still
leaving the
similar.
Celtics to go to the Nets. The Celtics are constructed. If Kyrie stays, they could make a championship run. I believe that. If Kyrie
They
stays in
could have won
Boston,
last year if he
exactly.
stayed healthy, played, had a good attitude.
Like you look at this Celtics team with Gordon Hayward last year. I'm not saying Kemba's a good player, but I'd say Kyrie's a much better player than Kemba Walker right now, and I don't think you can argue that. If
No, you
Kyrie,
can't,
if
especially
Kyrie's
since Kemba hasn't been playing well.
yeah, if Kyrie's on the team last year and Jalen Brown is still able to make those strides, and you take Kyrie, Hayward, and the Jays, and then that supporting cast with Smart and everybody, championship team. That's a championship caliber team, more so than they were last year, and they made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. That's why it frustrates me so much that Kyrie left because
Don't
he left
forget
the
about the
championship
commercial
team.
too,
What was the
with
commercial?
him and his dad in the garden, and he said he wants to have his number in the rafters.
Yep.
What a prick!
It's just yeah, I don't think anybody in Boston will be, respecting Kyrie for a long, long time. It's just he
I
left
still can't
such a
wait
bad.
for there to be a full house at the garden, and he
That
has to
still
play.
hasn't happened yet, huh? I don't think
Yeah.
that's happened
And I'm
yet.
not
So
really going to have any respect for him having big games against them until that happens. Like if he does it in a full garden, like it's going to suck. But like then you kind of have to
yeah,
respect it. Like I don't want to hear anyone talk about Christmas because there's no one in the gym.
yeah.
Like he probably if there's people there, he probably doesn't even play.
Mhm. I got a question for you. This is kind of off topic, but like on the topic of players leaving, right? If it's a full garden, right? I'm not saying it will be, but like hypothetically, if there's a full garden, does Gordon Hayward get booed or cheered when he comes back?
They'll probably boo him just because he didn't really have. I personally don't think he deserves to get booed. Let
Yeah, I
me
agree.
stop saying that. But I think people will boo him because I mean he was a massive disappointment here,
And it wasn't his fault. I don't think it was his
and it
fault.
wasn't his fault.
And I'll
But
argue, I'll go to my grave saying this. His season last year was as good as he's ever been. He was just
it
in a
was
small
fine.
role.
Yeah,
I think
and
that if he had a larger role, he would have been an all-star last season.
I also want to, in his defense, if you're listening and you would think about booing him, you shouldn't because dude literally missed the birth of his first son
Yeah,
to play in the conference finals last year. I mean, give
that
him a break.
was that was
I,
some
I
crazy.
have so much respect for that, even though like I don't
I
think
wouldn't have
he
done that.
personally shouldn't have done that. I don't think he
Yeah.
should have done that. But I mean, you got to respect it. He was so dedicated to the team to do that. I'm honestly
What I
kind
don't
of surprised
understand
he
is why
left.
the
I
fuck
wish
couldn't
he
they?
would leave
Why didn't they fly Robin to Florida? Like you're telling me the
the
NBA doesn't
bubble.
have. Yeah, but you're telling me Gordon Hayward and his $38 million doesn't have enough to like make that work somehow. You know what I'm saying?
Heck, do you know how it doesn't matter about money? It's the protocol.
Yeah, but they were
COVID was
letting
a lot more
they were letting
serious
family in
then.
at that point. They were letting families in at that point, Sam. They were letting
No,
family members
I don't
into the
know.
bubble. I don't know.
Maybe
I'm
they
just
don't want to
saying.
risk her getting sick with the
Yeah,
baby.
and that's fair. But I'm just saying they had the money. They could have found a way to get it work, found a way to get doctors into the bubble and shit. I don't know.
She's
It was
pregnant. I don't
just
know if you're. Are you? Well, my mom's a flight attendant. She was like flying when she was pregnant, but I don't know how
yeah.
much they recommend you to
I understand, but
travel when you're pregnant. I don't
respect
know
that
all the
Gordon Hayward.
details.
Respect that Gordon Hayward did that. I know you said you wouldn't. I wouldn't have done that. I
I
know.
would I wouldn't boo him either. I don't think he deserves to be booed, but I think he would be just because you do have the people that are upset. And I understand the people that are upset too. I think it's disappointing, and I honestly think he kind of should have stayed
Mhm.
this year. And then
And
I mean, they're saying the money in free agency this upcoming year is going to be there too. So like literally, he should have stayed. If he
mhm.
stays, and he gives himself a good shot at competing again. But
and I
I understand he wanted a bigger role, and he wasn't going to get that in
yeah,
Boston.
and he's playing really well in Charlotte. And fair enough. It's nice to see him succeed. Charlotte's not bad this year. They're probably going to make the play in at the very least. So it's good for them. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see maybe the Celtics match up with the Hornets at some point in the playoffs. But I don't know. I wish Hayward the best. They have a couple games against the Hornets coming up second half of the season because they haven't played them yet. I don't believe so. It'll be
Right.
fun to see, and there probably will be fans at least a little bit in the Garden when it happens. So
Yep.
shout out to that. Another
I wonder
quote I
when they're
want
going to let I wonder when they're going to lift the capacity because this week Biden
to.
said he wants everyone to be eligible to be vaccinated by May 1st.
Yeah,
And
which is
like
a long shot in my opinion, but
no, I don't think it's a long shot that everyone will be eligible. It's a long shot that they'll actually
yeah.
get the
Okay.
shots.
Yeah,
That's
there
the
you go.
big thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I want everyone to get vaccinated as soon as you can. I'm vaccinated, feel
Yeah.
fine. I feel like I can leap over tall buildings in a single bound. My
The
mom's
vaccination
vaccinated. My
actually
dad
makes
got his first
Sam's
shot.
actually Spider-Man now, so you get the
Yeah.
vaccination. Turn into Spider.
I mean, I don't. I mean, you see the. I'm not trying to get into politics, and I don't think this is politics. I think it's just world issues. But I mean, dude, like the leaders are all getting the vaccine on camera.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was bad, I don't think they're trying to take anybody out.
I want
I
the
don't know.
vaccine. Just I don't know. Again, like Sam said, this isn't a politics podcast, but the vax. Come on,
Get
just
vaccinated so you can go to the garden again.
there you go.
If I'm the NBA or if I'm the government, I'm making it so you can't do shit unless you're vaccinated after
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that's gonna get people, even if you don't want to get the shot. Like some of my friends don't want to get it because, by the time we're actually eligible, if you're not working in healthcare like I do, it's gonna be herd immunity anyways, and
Yeah.
there's not gonna be any reason to get it.
But
But I mean,
just
if you have to show
play
that
it safe.
card to people to get
Yeah.
into whatever, people
Everyone will get it. Everyone will get it. But anyways, yeah. Moving on to the next Celtics topic. Get the vaccine. Tice had a quote after the game that I thought was funny, and I don't know if you heard it.
I didn't hear,
but,
but Tice usually has good things to say, so
mhm.
I'm interested. To hear
They were
this.
asking him. I don't know the full quote, but I know this little snippet. I think they were asking me something about like the physicality with which he plays, and basically he just goes, "I don't care if I get hit in the face."
Oh,
It
yes,
was
I did
just
hear this. I thought this was from a different day, but
no,
continue.
no, no, no. That was it. I just thought that was like the most Tice quote ever, and he had
Yeah,
a
he said
big
he would
game
literally
against
do
Brooklyn.
anything to help the team. So
Mhm.
shout out to Tice. Honestly, I think
17-8
Tice
against
stays if
Brooklyn.
they want him.
What'd you say?
It, if they want him to stay, he'll probably sign back. I
I
think.
hope so. How much would you give Tice? Say the Celtics had unlimited money, there was no cap. What do you put his value
If
at?
there's no cap, you just give everyone the max deal. I don't
Okay,
see why you don't do that.
but
But
like,
no, no.
you know what I'm saying?
Realistically, I'd probably pay him like 10.
10. I think he could get 15, low key, like on the
From
open
the
market.
Celtics, though,
No, from like I'm talking like
I
in terms of value overall.
I agree, and I tend to think that too. But then, like, who did we have on? We had somebody on. They were talking about that, and I think I brought up like 10, and they were like, "Well, realistically, like,
It might have been
Tristan
Bobby.
Thompson only got this much,
9. He got
and
9.
yeah, he got 9, and like he was kind of heralded. The Celtics wanted him, and he
Mhm.
hasn't played great this season. Has been playing better in his defense. I think you would agree, right? He's been better
Mhm.
lately. And but I mean, he's kind of a big name, won a championship. Tice is not as big of a name, I don't think, as Thompson was.
But Tice can shoot, and that pays. Like we know that pays in the NBA. Joe Harris only shoots, and he got $18 million. I'm not calling Tice Joe Harris, but I'm just saying if you are in the NBA and you can shoot the basketball, you're gonna get paid the big bucks. Especially if you're a center. Tice is a center. He can like fight down low. He's a little bit undersized, but he can block shots. He can score inside, and he can shoot the three at almost 40%. That's gonna get you money, and that's just why I think he can get 15 mil on the open market. Who's going to pay him that? I'm looking around the league. I don't know exactly, but like, I don't know. Team who has money could give him a little bit, like the Mavericks. If Ty signs with the Mavericks, elite, and they might have money after this year with Tim Hardaway. You know what I'm saying? I just think there'll be a market out there for him to get 10 to 15 million dollars.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Well, like I was saying, the money this year is probably going to be quite a bit.
I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting to see because he is a free agent, and that brings up the idea: do you trade him? Do you capitalize on this value during the season?
I would understand if they traded him, but they've got to be getting something back worthwhile. I think Thompson can be a starter for you and Williams off the bench, but I like the versatility Tice brings with his shooting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough
If I'm
call.
if I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't love Thompson lately. I think I'm gonna disagree. It's just because he's just a black hole. He's been a
I
little
agree
better
with
passing
that.
out.
He is absolutely a black hole, but at least his shots are kind of falling in now. Because I
I
think
don't
if you
know.
look at the percentages over the last couple of weeks, they've gone way up. And
Yeah,
before, like he's missing the hooks, missing the putbacks, but now at least they're going in. I
yeah,
agree with that though. And if
yeah.
he was to kick it out, they could get so many good looks off of his
He
offensive
could
rebounds.
average like 5 fucking assists a game if he kicked
Yeah,
it out.
yeah, exactly. But he,
Like,
he doesn't do that. I think they're working on him because there's been a couple times where he actually did, and I was like, oh, real shit, like, oh my god.
I mean, I'm gonna give you a Facebook take here, but God, do I want Robert Williams to start, man? I know with the health and everything, but like he would be so good in that starting lineup, getting those big minutes, right? Like,
I
did
think
you agree with?
that's a fair take. Would he positively be better? Maybe not, because like
Yeah.
he's playing against bench players a lot of the time, and also him coming off the bench is just I don't know. It's like a spark role, and he's excelling in the role. So I don't see any reason not to keep him in the role, if that
I
makes
want to
sense.
test it
And
out though. I want to see what
and that's how
happens.
Brad Stevens thinks too. Because you
Uh-huh.
saw it when Isaiah Thomas was the spark guy off the bench. He literally refused to start him until Marcus got hurt, and then like he finally started him.
And how did that fucking turn out?
Yeah.
Like, come
No,
on.
I agree.
I'm
I think you're right.
not saying Rob's gonna be the
I
next
don't
MVP.
disagree with the take, but I'll play devil's advocate and say maybe it doesn't work.
Rob, by the way, 6 blocks against the Nets.
It's
Absolutely insane. See, right? That's what I'm saying. I didn't even see him. He's
I didn't
becoming
see him either.
under the radar good now, which is kind of insane. Um, but yeah, man, Robert Williams has been nothing short of amazing this season. And I don't know. The Celtics need to do something. And you mentioned at the start of the show, and every single podcast now, we talk about trades. We talk about the open market, and it's getting
You
tedious.
have to.
That's what I'm saying. You got to talk about it. So after watching that Nets game, because I feel like that was a pretty good indication of how well the Celtics can be. It was the first time we've seen the whole team play together in a long time, minus Romeo Langford, which, by the way, come on, man. Like, you're cleared to play, and then COVID, I have to assume, right? Health and safety, like that's got to be
Yeah.
COVID. now.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't know
Uh,
if he has it, but he might have been
in
contact
contact,
tracing or something.
which
But
is like the timing. Oh my God.
at least he's not injured. You know, hopefully he doesn't have it because
he's
we saw
he's
what it
gonna
did to Tatum.
he's gonna have COVID, and then the day he's supposed to come back and like trip on a Lego or something stupid and be hurt again. It's just like it's got to be a running joke at this point. It's fucking ridiculous. Romeo Langford can't get back on the court, but yeah, like I said, this Nets game I think is kind of an indicator of how good the Celtics can be. What piece do you think was missing during that game? Obviously, Brown had an off night. Kemba
Jalen
Walker
Brown's
did
your
not
answer.
break,
Um,
but what could the Celtics add to this team based on that game, just the season as a whole? Like,
just depth, I
mhm,
guess. I will say about that game, and I'll say about the healthy lineup because you mentioned it. So those guys have played in 2 games altogether. They played against the Lakers for 3 quarters, and they were up 7 when Marcus went out.
mhm.
And they played Brooklyn pretty well the whole game, with Brown not being good and Kemba being all right.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of potential for them to be a really good, you know, core of players.
Brown
That
Tatum.
that doesn't mean Brown, Tatum, Kemba,
Okay,
Marcus,
okay, yeah.
and that doesn't mean that they can't make a trade. I think I like the Harrison Barnes thing.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
I
I
like the
think
Rockets. I really like the Rockets as a candidate for a trade.
Danny Ainge said on Toucher and Rich this week. I don't know if you heard it, but like he's really looking to make a move that's going to help for years to come, not just
Yeah,
one,
Mhm.
half of a season. And I think that's an
Which is
excellent
hard,
way to go about it.
which is tough to do though.
It is tough, but I think that's your best bet. And I agree that they really shouldn't salvage a lot of the future pieces, whether they think let's say Robert Williams, for example. They shouldn't salvage him in a trade for just something for this 2 months
I
here
agree.
or however long,
Which is why,
because
yeah.
you've got
Go ahead.
years and years of Jalen and Jason to have success.
Yeah.
This might not be the year. We saw Brooklyn Thursday. They looked excellent. They weren't even at full strength.
hmm
Granted, the
And
bench played out of their mind. And I'm not sitting, I was joking earlier, but I mean, they were like 10 of 15 from
yeah,
three as a bench.
the bench played a
Unbelievable.
bit. And Joe Harris didn't even play well, and he's usually the guy that's
Yeah.
going to kill you for three, which was painful to watch. But
We'll say him and Shamit were a fair trade off then. We won't Shamit with KD. Shamit
yeah,
had no business doing that, and that was
yeah.
aggravating.
Shaman had 18 points, made 6 threes, which is ridiculous. But no, yeah, I think Evan on our latest podcast said it really well. You don't got to go out and make the big move because realistically, a Vucevic trade would probably just gut your entire bench, which at this point is already bad.
Yeah, it's
You
bad
need
enough, right? You can't do that.
Mhm. It's brutal. So I like the Rockets. That's my pick. Macklemore and Daniel House, bring them into Boston. It'll help you for a little while. They're cheaper. I don't know if I like Tucker as much, but just bring in depth.
Just because he's
And
old.
yeah, yeah. Realistically, the best guy out
But
there to
he's
help
done
the
playing
Celtics.
there.
Yeah, the best guy to help the Celtics right now, though, I would say probably could be Aaron Gordon. For future and now, I think that's probably one of the best pieces on the market, quote unquote,
Good call.
out there. But the question is, let me ask you this: what do the Magic want for that? And you're not a Magic guy, so you're not going to know the answer. But what would you give up for Aaron Gordon?
I don't know, man. I don't like. It's not that I don't like the idea. I think you're making a good point. It's just me personally. I don't think he's been amazing, and he hasn't been on a good team. To be fair,
Yeah,
he's
he's shooting pretty well this season, though, so I'll give him that. But
his role is probably bigger than it would be here for sure.
mhm.
Is he playing again or is he still hurt?
I think he's just getting back into the lineup now. So, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Picks because they don't need the picks anymore. Right now they don't.
Aaron Gordon
Um,
last game, 9 points, he only played 13 minutes. Keep in mind, so he's on low restriction. But 9 points, 2 rebounds, 3 for 8 from the field. So he's not amazing, but he'll help, and he's a good defender, which I know you like. So there's that. But I don't know. It's definitely interesting to see what. Wow, Magic got blown out. I'm just looking still. He didn't play in this one. Did he get hurt again? Maybe because he only played 13 minutes and he didn't play the next game.
maybe they're not playing back to backs or whatever. Was it
Possibly.
back to back?
But yeah, it was. But the Magic lost 77 to 104 to the Spurs. So it's it's pretty ugly. Pretty ugly. Fun fact also, just random. Nikola Vucevic has the worst plus minus in the NBA.
Isn't that
which is
something? I
that's
wonder how much
yeah.
that actually means, though, because he doesn't play with very good guys at this point.
Yeah, the Magic starting lineup against the Spurs was Michael Carter Williams, uh, Dwayne Bacon, Chuma Okeke, Al-Farouq Aminu, and Vucevic. So that'll give you some indication as to what's going on in Orlando. I don't know. I just think the Celtics need to do something to change it up. Like obviously this isn't a win or go home year, right? This isn't a year where if the Celtics don't win, they have to gut the team. They have to make a massive coaching change. They have to change stuff. Like last year, Clippers get bounced in the second round. Very obviously something wrong there. I don't know if Doc Rivers was the problem, but they had to change something, right? Because that was a problem. They were good enough that they had to go further. This year, Celtics obviously have deeper issues. They have a young core. Kemba was hurt a little bit. This isn't a year where you gut the whole fucking team. You fire Brad Stevens or Danny Ainge if they don't make it past the second round, right? First round exit is obviously ideal. But Sam, even if they lose in the first round, you're not going to sit there and say, okay, they need to fire Brad Stevens,
No,
right?
I don't think they should fire them
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
I don't. Those guys are safe, but I think if they lose in the first round, you have to think about maybe making a substantial move,
Is Kemba that move?
or maybe you don't. Maybe you just say it's not your year because I think. I mean, I don't think they should be losing in the first round. I don't think they have business. And I don't think it's okay to accept that. But you might just have to be like, well, maybe it really just wasn't our year.
Mm-hmm.
If you're losing the first round,
Is Kemba that move though? Do you think Kemba going to finish his contract in Boston? Let me ask you that.
he probably will because I don't know what they're going to get back for him.
But do you trade Kemba for depth? Is that worth it in your opinion?
No.
Okay.
Unless you're getting the only way you do that is if you like get Lonzo. Excuse
Bless
me.
you. But would you take Lonzo over Kemba?
Yeah, because actually, I think Lonzo's contract's up, so you got to be careful with that. You got to make sure you can sign him first. I probably would, just because he can be here for a while. He's been shooting really well from deep this year. He's got a lot of weapons around him if he plays in Boston.
A lot of more players to pass to at the very least, which is
That's what
going
I'm
to be
saying.
huge for him. So, yeah, I don't know. I would like Lonzo. I think you got to get more depth if you're trading. Like Kemba for Lonzo straight up is not a good deal for the Celtics. I think that makes it worse. But if you get like, Josh Hart, JJ Redick, and like a pick or something, I don't think the Pelicans would do that. But it
I would
depends
do
on what.
extra picks if they wanted them.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Would you trade Kemba and picks for Lonzo? Like, is that what you're saying?
Not straight up, but
Okay.
Lonzo in depth.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's just like you said. There's probably not a market out there for Lonzo or for Kemba. Sorry, which is frustrating because it's like I forget who said this. If Kemba's playing well, you don't want to trade him, but if he's playing bad, there's no market. That's just how it works. It might have been you. I think it might have been KJ too, but yeah,
probably both of us.
it's just it's a really tough situation. And you mentioned you don't want to trade Robert Williams, right? Is he untouchable in your eyes, or is it just
Unless you're getting something unbelievable. It's not that
Okay.
he's untouchable, but for like a short-term fix,
Okay, so
I
you're
wouldn't trade
talking
him for Harrison Barnes. Wouldn't trade him for Vucevic. Probably wouldn't trade him for Aaron Gordon. Maybe I would trade him for John Collins. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sold on that just because we saw Collins be inconsistent over a 2-game stretch against Celtics, Like
Yes. So we'll use
Williams
Collins
has
as
been consistent.
yeah. So we'll use Collins as the benchmark for this next little. I think this is the last thing I want to talk about. I'm gonna give you a player in the Celtics, and you tell me if you trade him for. I'm gonna go up the list, right? I'll do like Tad Young, then I'll do Harrison Barnes, then Vooch, then John Collins, right? Would you say that's the right pecking order in terms of guys you'd want on the Celtics?
All right.
Yeah.
You could put Beal on there too.
All right, and no, Beal can be above John Collins, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
And then I was gonna throw Cat on the end too, but I feel like that's less realistic than Beal.
I don't know how unrealistic that is.
Really.
We talked about this with Evan. Like, dude, what are they doing with him? I mean, to be fair, they have Anthony Edwards, but they don't have their pick this year.
And they have D'Lo.
They have D'Lo. He's been bad, and he's been hurt.
But I feel like the way that franchise thinks, like Timberwolves are stupid. I'll just say it. They're dumb, like with the way they do things. And so in their mind, they want to keep trying to build around. Whether they're good at it is another question because they're clearly not very good at it. But I don't think they're going to give up on Cat. But yeah, okay. So I'm going to go from the top, right? I'm just going to go random players, and we'll just go through the list. So we'll start with. I'll give you an easy one to start. We'll do Carson Edwards. You trade him for anybody on that list. Yeah, we'll start.
He's absolutely havable, and I think he's someone that if he does get traded, he's going to pan out for. He probably has value,
Yeah.
or he should, because I think if he has a bigger role on, let's say, a Houston or a Chicago, right? Like he's going to be able to get reps and he's going to have room for error. And he doesn't really have that on the Celtics. And he's been all right this year when he has played.
Okay. I got you. So you trade him for anybody in the list, Tad
Yeah.
Young to okay.
Yep.
Cat. We'll go Romeo Langford and I'll run you through the list. So would you trade Romeo Langford for Tad Young in a deal for
No.
Tad Young? Okay.
No.
Harrison Barnes.
Maybe I would, yeah.
Okay. And then next up was Vucevic.
Yeah.
Okay. Or no, Aaron Gordon was next up. Would you trade him for Aaron
Yeah.
Gordon?
Well, yeah. Everyone above Thad Young probably, just because.
Gotcha.
I mean, we haven't seen what Romeo is, and I think it's too soon to give up on him. You know what I'm saying? Like he was decent. Now I keep saying this every time we talk about it. He was decent in the games he actually got to play. He was so important to them last year that they made him play with a torn ligament, which was so stupid. I don't even know how he could do that, but all right.
Mm-hmm. And then does Neesmith fall into the same category as Romeo?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. Maybe no for Harrison Barnes. Yeah, no for Harrison Barnes.
You wouldn't trade Neesmith for Harrison Barnes?
No.
Interesting. I would, in my personal opinion, but I guess.
I mean, I wouldn't be heartbroken if they did, but I'd prefer not to.
Okay, that's fair.
Because that's someone you picked with your lottery pick. Not saying that means you have to, let him burn the house down to keep him, but we haven't. I want to see what he does next year before you really make a decision. I think it's too soon to decide.
Okay. Grant Williams for Tad Young.
Grant Williams is absolutely touchable because he's not even playing some games and he's healthy.
Okay. So what about, so you'd trade him for Tad Young?
Probably, yeah.
All right. There you go.
Maybe not, but probably.
And then
I wouldn't be upset.
Definitely for Harrison Barnes.
Yep.
Okay. We'll move on to Tristan Thompson for Tad Young.
No.
Okay. Tristan Thompson for Harrison Barnes.
Yeah. Everyone above Young, yes.
Okay. There we go. And by the way, for those listening, we're living in a fictional world where there's no salary cap. We're just trying to determine value of players on the Celtics right now. I'm not even going to give you, I'm going to assume that you trade Javonte Green, Tremont Waters, Taco Fall, all those guys for any of these guys. I would assume.
Can you trade two-way players?
I don't know, but in terms of value, you trade.
All right.
Shemi Ojale, would you trade for Ty Young?
That's tough. Probably not.
Okay.
I think he gives you defensive versatility, and he's been decently consistent shooting threes, so he's not a liability to have on the floor.
And then Harrison Barnes, you would trade Shemi for? Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would. Because Barnes is going to give you probably better than what Shemi does.
You hate to see him go, though.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you'd trade Jeff Teague for anybody.
Jeff Teague, I would trade for a second-round pick.
Bag of Doritos. All right, we'll get a little harder here now. Daniel Tice for Tad Young.
No.
Daniel Tice for Harrison Barnes.
No.
Daniel Tice for Aaron Gordon.
Maybe, yeah.
Daniel Tice for Vucevic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's just an upgrade. So yeah.
That's a line. Or I'm talking like in a package for.
Yeah, I know, but it's still an upgrade. It's okay to lose him if you're bringing in something better.
Okay, so Aaron Gordon and up, you'd probably trade him for, we'll say.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. Peyton Pritchard. This would be a hard one. Tad Young.
I probably wouldn't trade Pritchard for anything less than Beal.
Okay, so we're talking
in the package for Beal. Maybe Collins.
Yeah. So you wouldn't trade him for Tad Young. You wouldn't trade him for Barnes. You wouldn't trade him for Aaron Gordon or Vucevic, but probably for Collins. Yep. Or maybe for Collins, not probably.
Yeah.
Okay. And then obviously that would mean anything above Collins. Gotcha. Robert Williams, same thing. Collins,
Robert Williams is not getting touched unless it's Beal.
So Beal or Cat? Beal or higher?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So do you value Cat more than Beal? Let me ask you that. I would assume so.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I do too. All right. Kemba Walker. Tad Young, no. Harrison Barnes, no. Gordon, no. Vucevic.
No.
Okay. So John Collins.
I mean, they wouldn't want him, so no.
But if you had the option.
Probably not.
Beal?
Maybe I would. Beal, yes.
So Collins, maybe. Yes. Beal and Cat, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sound crazy probably to people that are Celtics people.
Alrighty.
This is how I feel about trades. I just don't think
it's definitely
You
interesting.
should trade important pieces to your team unless you're getting something back.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we'll do Jalen Brown next, then Tatum, then the last guy I have in
Jalen
mind.
Brown, no for everybody. I don't.
Same thing.
Or Tatum.
Okay.
Same.
I'm just making sure. Just gotta ask. And lastly, I'm gonna go through everyone here. Oh, Marcus Smart. I don't want you to tell me. I'm just gonna go through everyone. Tad Young, no. Right? Harrison Barnes,
Right.
no. Aaron
Nope.
Gordon, no.
No.
Vucevic, no.
No.
John Collins, no.
Nope.
Bradley Beal.
Yeah, probably. I try not to. I do everything you can not to.
But
In
if
Towns, yeah, I would.
okay, so the maybe deadline or the maybe kind of borderline is Bradley Beal.
Yeah, because you know with Marcus, you're gonna have to give up other stuff too.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Yeah, that's just basically what I wanted to run down. I was curious to see what
I
you
think
value
Marcus is just too
putting on.
important to give up.
And he showed that
People
last
probably
night.
think I'm crazy, man, but he had a
showed
good
that
game
against the
yesterday.
Nets. Yeah, it was huge. And he was on a minutes restriction too. So he can do a lot for the Celtics
Might have
when
went
he's
for
healthy.
30 if he was playing in regular minutes.
I think so too. But yeah, that's all the things I had on my little list. That was the last little segment I wanted to do. Is there anything you wanted to bring up before we start to wrap up?
No, I'm sweaty, so I got to shower before work.
Alrighty, well, in that case, thank you guys so much for listening to From the Rafters. Once again, we are sponsored by Manscaped. Make sure to use code BTUSA at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. You guys can follow us on Twitter at BannertownUSA. Follow me at Jack Simone NBA. And Sam, go ahead.
Thank you so much for listening. Check us out on Pregame, Guy Boston Sports, YouTube, and Twitter. We'll be retweeting it. Shout out to Jack. It's always a good time to talk to him. Jack, we'll have to do a stream one of these times when we play in the league.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think I should be able to contribute my camera as well on the Xbox.
It'd be fun.
So maybe we'll do that. Follow Jack Simone NBA. Follow Bannertown USA. Follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's our show. Bye.
Tic-tac-toe.